Easynow and welcome, Drone Warrior here. Today I was going to do a video about aftermarket props, but unfortunately had a bit of an accident, and my first accident in over 50 hours, and believe it or not, it was within a few feet from the ground and at very slow speed. This side's completely ripped off, the whole motor and everything. This motor span upside down, and then with the spinning it just kept going round and round and round, twisted all the cables up, so both front arms are completely smashed. I did the set of props as well, but the plan today is, can we take it apart and fix it easy? Here you can see I've got the two new replacement arms. It is just the arm. Comes with the wiring for the LED at the back here. Like you can see that one removed off there. Yeah, so we'll get into it. First of all, we'll remove the gimbal cover, the gimbal protector, the front piece and the shell, and we'll see where we go from there. So to get at the screws to remove the arm, we have to remove these two screws here and remove the sensor. There is a screw on the inside here, but we're going to get to the wiring before we do too much else, so we'll remove this sensor off the bottom. Okay, lift up the sensors and we'll undo these two little screws here, and that remove the little plate across there, and that will allow us to remove the ribbon cable and remove this, which allows access to the two screws at the bottom of the wing. Next off, we'll remove this panel, these four screws, and we should have access to the wiring then. We can see the wires, we just can't get to them, so we have to remove this heatsink. It is held on with paste, but I believe it's also held on with a couple of screws from underneath there. Unfortunately, a couple of them have got silicone in them, which I'm going to have to try and remove, but then remove them. It is just the top two screws, you undo them, and then your heatsink nicely peel away, giving you access to the solder joints that we need. We have to remove a piece here to get to the aerial fitting we need. I'm going to undo these first and unthread them, and then take the whole wing off as a unit. I'm going to have a proper look, make sure it's safe to solder from here, and see where the other bits go to. So what we're going to do is remove these two little retaining screws, one on either side, this little plate, and then that's where the two antennas plug in. It's quite handy. The grey is for the back and the black goes down to the front. You can get good access to these three wires here. I've just got to work out where the other connector plugs in, somewhere under here. I'm hoping I'm not going to have to take this whole wing off to get to it, but make sure you remember exactly which way your wires are soldered, because you come in to put them back, you don't want to mess this up. So yeah, let's get to this aerial, get the aerial off and start to unthread some of the cables. I've removed both aerial connections because there's a small black and red wire connection that plugs in there on the board, which we need to unplug as well. So once we've done the unsoldering, we can turn it over and pull the cables from underneath and unclip them from the side. Now we're ready to remove the arm. So there is a bolt hiding right down there on the inside, that's the main support, and then there's obviously the two underneath the sensors, so let's get on that. So now we have the old arm off, the old snapped one. What we do is we need to strip this one down and replace the motor and the leg on the opposite side. First thing we're going to do is undo the screws on the bottom, remove this little leg. I'm sure you've all seen it before, don't need to go into great detail, you just unplug the board and pull it off. Safely remove and store this little piece, and then what we need to do is undo the screws there and release the motor. Also, while we're at it, we'll feed the cables. Oh, they've already started to feed themselves gently back through there. Right, take the motor off. Then we work the cables back through, pulling them through the arm and releasing the wires for the motor, and we put them in the same holes that they were in on the original, We start feeding these in. We'll exchange that little bit of rubber there, put that over here, and when we put the wires in the new wing, we'll put them back in the protective wrap. So let's carry on wiring this new arm up. This piece of wire you pull out of your old arm. It's obviously the aerial, you know, and the little red and black cable comes with a little protective tubing. And what we'll do is we'll feed these 3 wires back through the tubing to this end, and then we'll feed the tubing back through the arm, ready for reassembly. So here we have the fully rebuilt leg with the wires coming back through. I know I need a new landing leg. The board and sides bent, one of the LEDs doesn't work, or didn't work when I took it apart. Hopefully it's going to be in the same condition, but I wanted to make sure I could fix the thing before I go getting landing legs. That's the least of the problems at the moment. So we'll reattach this and start feeding the wires through, and we'll go from there. There we have it, new arm on, screwed on tight, soldered in, all plugged in, etc. Still got the main broken one to go. But that's how you do it. Obviously there's the rear ones as well, so you'd strip down the same to get to the rears, and again they've got a screw on the inside and a couple on the bottom to remove the arms. You strip the arms, put them into your new one and replace it. So I'll get on with that one. Here we can see the other side. Remove the bottom portion, but the motor actually snapped the end of the wing clean off, so we'll transplant that onto our other new wing, and we'll put that on and resolder it, and we should be nearly done. These are the 2 broken arms, and the 2 new ones are on in place and wired up. First thing to do is just quickly clip the sensors back on, do those screws up, and then we'll do the 2 underneath and align the heatsink and get this thing back together quite quickly. Next up, we put the back panel back on. Next up is the shell. We'll clip that back on. And lastly, we put the camera surround on and any gimbal protectors. Right, I've come outside just in case anything happens. Put a battery on it, put some props on it. Okay, everything seems to be working nice. Quick checking the goggles, no errors. Oh, not ready to take off yet. Oh, here we go. And we're back. Success. So we get to the verdict, and to be honest with you, I was a little bit concerned. Such a high priced item and quite technical. I was a little concerned on how easy it'd be to take apart, whereas it's been built in such a methodical and logical way. It comes apart easily as long as you're able to solder. That's not necessarily a problem. The hardest bit came from the tiny little black and red wires just under the ESC board. Little pair of tweezers to pull them out and put them back in. Putting them in was harder than taking them out. That was probably the hardest thing on the whole lot of the job. Everything was super simple, easy to do. My soldering iron was playing up when I did the first side, and by the time I'd soldered them back on, it was dead. So I bought a new soldering iron to do obviously the other side, and from there I went back and resoldered everything to make sure it was all perfectly good. The drone is exactly how it should be, working 100% from the first power up. Really, no issues, no recalibration of anything needed, and it had a massive smash. It snapped this off completely and span around multiple times. This one had snapped off obviously at the middle bit here, and you're looking upwards of £250–300 for this repair that a lot of places will charge. I did this and it cost me £16 an arm. Basically the legs all still work fine. I've lost this bit of plastic here, but the LEDs still work. Obviously I could buy a new set of legs for £15–20, but they work fine. There's nothing wrong with them, they're not bent. There's no other damage. Just replacing the arms, swapping the motors over, super easy. I'm glad I did it, and I'm not so worried now. They're readily available and they're pretty simple to do. As I said, if you're a little bit technical and you can solder, you really shouldn't have a problem. You've just got to be careful, go lightly. As I said, remove the cables out of the way. You might have to pry this ever so slightly, just get a bit of access to the little red and black wires that are under the top here. And as I said, if you're doing the back arms, there's the red and black wire is plugged in just at the bottom of the ESC board on the sides there. So the total cost of that accident would be £16 an arm. It's a set of propellers, which is £15 a set, and then a set of landing arms, which are £15 if I replaced them. So far I had spare propellers. It's cost me £16 a leg, and we're back in business with the drone as good as new. So I hope this has helped. Stay tuned, subscribe, like and share, and I'll catch you all on the next one.